Hello, horror addicts. Kbatz, Kristen Battistella here. We were just having a little chit chat about all the crazy names. Laura Kaign is with me. A nice simple name like Kane, and I said, how do you do that one? How do you say that one? Because I'm so used to Kbatz, Battistella, crazy. But now, Laura, you do a lot of Native American storytelling and nature writing, okay, and Lady Hawk storytelling.
Yeah, so Lady Hawk
Yes.
storytelling, we're a professional storyteller, and nature has always been a part of any of my interests. So when it came to writing, it was the same thing, even my science fiction.
That's what I was gonna say. You have a lot of natural elements, a lot of like earth tones in your rocks when you're doing all your storytelling. But yet your series are a lot more science fiction. But you also have like shapeshifters
Yes.
and but that's all natural based.
Yes, because that's why they're called Earth Children.
Earth children.
Because they're in contact with the earth energies and the earth abilities, and when they become the different animals, part of their brain is the animal, so they're also combating the instincts of the animal being controlled by the human side. I mean, when they become a jaguar, they're a very intelligent animal is basically what it is. So
And these were all different storytelling kind of tales that were handed down to you that you finally decided to put on paper.
no, actually, the shape-shifting things are my dreams.
Oh wow!
I have been every animal that Alora has been.
dreams. That's
Yeah.
Wow.
I dream in stories, so when I wake up, I write them down. And I went back in my dream journals and realized that I had all these animals and this character, which was, I guess, me. So I saw the connection. I said, wouldn't this be kind of interesting to have all these adventures? And then box them into a collection of journal entries with the one character. And then, of course, the second book has Kyle. She meets up with him, and he's a shapeshifter as well.
Wow. And this, there's one that is a collection of stories.
Yeah, that would be Rabbit's Tale.
Rabbit's
Rabbit's Tale
Tale,
and Other
okay.
Rites of Passage, and that's a collection of stories that I've been telling for many, many years. Most of them are Native American, some of them are family stories. They all have that same nature theme to them, and a lot of them have some kind of lesson also attached. So Rabbit's Tale is for readers 8 years and up, and there's discussion questions at the back for school teachers and librarians, and because when you make mistakes and you have to work through the problems, it's kind of nice to talk about it in a family situation as well.
You do a lot of that, going around to different libraries and different events and schools and doing all the storytelling presentations. How did you get involved in that?
Well, long story short, I got my bachelor's degree in elementary education, and at the time that I was looking to be in a classroom full time, I worked with a middle school librarian, and they were doing research projects. And I thought, this looks fun too. So I went back to school to get my master's in library science, and along the way I met up with the librarians at the Gloucester County Library System, Jean Fairhurst and Emily Cummins, who happened to be a storyteller, and they were working with 10 to 14-year-olds through the summer, teaching them storytelling. So I sat in sort of an intern slash assistant slash student, and we were talking about storytelling and how that worked out, and I wrote some little stories and shared them, and they hired me for the summer to do the storytelling program in the summer, and she said, just keep doing it because you're a natural. So
We can tell where your heart we can tell where your heart is, because instead of, you have masters of library science, and you're not being a librarian, you're not being a teacher, you're out here saying, aren't you so cold, here at the Windy Mount Holly Book Fair. No,
it's the storytelling and the stories, because especially with Native Americans, they didn't attend school traditionally, but they would listen to the stories. They would get the hands-on experience. So whenever they got into trouble, or if there was a lesson to be learned, somebody would sit them down and tell them a story. So, and that's how they learn. So stories can be very educational by way of examples. And so, yeah, I guess at the heart of the story.
when you're writing, when you're trying to get this stuff out of your dreams and putting it on the page like
to
that,
make it make sense.
yeah, how do you just get it out there to pants it, or do you like make your lists and your outlines?
I would say I'm a pantser. One of
Everybody's
those
a
hybrids.
pantser.
I really
Everybody is a
don't.
pantser today.
If I will write an outline if I run into an issue, if I run into a problem, or the story has hit a dead end, then I'll do the outline, and that'll make me analyze everything, and then I'll find where I went took the right when I should have taken the left, backtracking, and then I have to start rewriting from there.
Because, like you said, the one book was for like 8-year-olds.
Yeah, the 8 years and up. That's a collection of
The
stories.
collection of stories.
So for me, it was just a matter of how to organize them into the different groups. So I have one section is the animal told stories, so they're all animal stories, and then the people told tales, and that's all basically human characters in those stories. That's where a lot of the family stories are.
So does that influence you when you're writing, that you say what age level is this, middle grade? You have the more science fiction series that's a little more young adult. Do you worry about that kind of audience age group in your writing process?
Good question.
With this one.
Yeah. Well, for the storytelling, obviously, if they're short stories and they're stories that I'm telling, I already know what the audience is, and I've already had the feedback of being there when I'm telling the stories. So I knew that those were for children who at least could read and could relate to the story. So I knew that those were for, second grade up and all that, and families share them. The science fiction stories, which I originally wrote back in 1991-92, up through 2003, I think. Then I petered out halfway through 9. I was like, okay, well, someday. So working those through again, I knew they're adult characters, and they're adult situations, and there is some violence. So that one's not really even young adult. I say that's more of an adult fiction collection. Now the Earth Child, the character herself, I take her through 11 when she first realized, after having a flying dream, she wakes up, she's not in bed, she's down around the corner, looks into a rain puddle, and she's a golden eagle.
Oh, wow.
Like, okay, what's going on? So she starts experimenting, and her mother finds out and says, no, you can't do this. This is nothing but trouble. But you can't tell a 12-year-old not to change into a mermaid or a horse or something if she could do that. So she decides to find her own way. I have this ability for some reason, and later on we find out.
And you're self-published also, so that gives you the freedom of where to place your stories, and you don't have to worry about your genre definitions.
Right, that's true. The science fiction is more social science fiction. It's more about interactions and conflicts between characters, rather than what you would consider science fiction with the spaceships and all. Although they're there,
there's different breakdowns.
The characters tell the story. It's not about the science or the technology.
But it's much more about the nature to you. Like, are we coming into nature versus supernatural?
For Earthchild series, I'd say yes, because there is a mysticism about it. Not quite a religion, but the idea that the energies and the abilities of humans, we're set with the technology, we've separated ourselves from the way it's supposed to be on Earth. So the Earth children are closer to the energies of Earth and the understandings of the interactions and connectedness of nature, animals, plants, and things like that, and the water and all. So I wouldn't say it's not like witchcraft or anything, but it is more spiritual. The science fiction, it's the two cultures, and the main character, Visarius, he's of the Vesar people, and their culture is a warrior culture, so there's a lot of ties back to Native American sort of cultural things, and he uses a crossbow instead of, so he has plasma pistol too, but that's part of his heritage, and honor above all things, and strong, sort of headstrong and stubborn.
Was that all more local folklore and storytelling, or was that something you had to go out and research?
Well, considering that I wrote those science fiction books before I was a storyteller, then it really was just having grown up with science fiction and being fascinated by Native American cultures and sort of just melding them together and creating an alien culture, and then throwing him into the past and off some deserted road in the Adirondacks. There's time travel in my science fiction.
Too? Oh,
yes, there's time travel too.
You have a little bit of everything.
And romance.
Oh, okay. But see, that's so strange. Like, I would not call your books like paranormal romance.
Well, again, like you said, it's like a crossover. Definitely science fiction because of the place, the time, and the technology. But as far as the story's concerned, it's much more social oriented. It's about an outcast who is still trying to find his way, and he's been accepted to work on the ship, but he's not allowed to associate with his own people. They don't even want him anywhere near their spaceships, much less living on his planet. He's lost his family's estate and all that, so but he wants to work. He realizes that he's not whole unless he has that connection with his own people. So he's working with the humans, but he's not human. He's the only vessel on the ship, and when he ends up falling through a time portal and ends up in 1999. Here, this woman who is a teacher, an English teacher, she, of course, has some background in medical health care and all that, so she decides he's strange. She knows he's not human, but he's not inhuman. So she helps him and decides to help him get back to his place through the future. The problem is, as soon as she gets him onto the other side, the time arch gets destroyed, and now she's trapped in the future. And like, well, there aren't many jobs for English teachers in the future, so now she's got to find her place.
And you're a pantser. You can keep track of all that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do have along the way, I have little index cards with all the characters for each, and in my head I have the story down, and I did do an outline for when I did propose the book to publishing companies back in the 90s. So,
well, how many do you have out now?
I have the first 3 of the science fiction series: Warrior Heart, Warrior Spirit, and Warrior Ordeal. Warrior Fury is the next one. And again, they're written as
Warrior
just
Fury.
Yeah,
Wow.
Warrior Fury. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, not a happy. Well, I wouldn't say not a happy ending, but there's a lot of trial and tribulation.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Dorinda gets kidnapped, so you know.
Where can we find all your information?
Well, I have a website, ladyhawkstorytelling.com. I also have various Facebook pages for the Vessar Warrior Legacy, which is a science fiction series. I have a Facebook page just for the Earth Children books, of which the first two are out, and I'm working on writing the trilogy. So I'm working on the third one.
These are available Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, local bookstores, and if you find me in a book event somewhere, I'll have them.
Find you at the Mount Holly Book Fair, braving the wind and cold. Laura, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Kristen. Thank you.